All right, friends, it's time. I made a video for you guys on how I do my sourdough pizza bread. It is phenomenal. And the hardest part, I have to say, about this pizza bread is not eating it when it comes out of the oven. That's the hardest part. So here we go. Let's get started. We have our dough mixed here. We're just going to cover it, let it sit for an hour. I do an hour because I do a pretty large amount. If you don't want to do a large amount, then do 45 minutes. And then after the hour, we're going to do our first set of stretch and pulls. I do about 15 going around. I will add my recipe in the comments. Also, the step-by-step on how to do this bread from the gentleman that I got this recipe from on YouTube. And I use it now all the time and I absolutely love it. Just make sure you follow all his steps. While that is resting, we're going to prepare our toppings. So we just have some pepperoni minis. These work the best. They have larger ones, but I highly recommend these. They incorporate the best into the dough and just make it so much easier. And then we have some dried tomatoes. These I got from Trader Joe's. So that works really well as well. This is very important. Make sure you get the pearls, the fresh mozzarella pearls, and then some string cheese. And that's it. We're just going to cut up our string cheese. You want them about the same size as your pearls, but that's where you're kind of going for. And then I'm also going to add some of my pizza seasoning. I get this from Amish country. I absolutely love it. If you cannot get your hands on some pizza seasoning, I'm thinking oregano, garlic, maybe some Italian dressing, mix it all together, and there you go. We're going to combine all this into one bowl, just like that, each bag all together in there. And then we're just going to mix it all really well in there. Make sure the seasoning is incorporated into our cheese as well. And then on our second proof, we're going to start adding our stuff inside. So first I'm going to add some of the seasoning on top of my dough. And I'm going to incorporate it a little bit by doing a little coils. It's not too much because you're going to be adding your toppings into this dough next, so you don't have to worry about incorporating it too much because you're going to do it all together. We're going to add about half of that topping into our dough. And then we're just going to do some stretch and coils, I should say, some coils. I think it's easier to incorporate it into the dough if you're doing coils and not the stretch and pulls, but try whatever works for you. I mean, I don't know, everybody's different, but I just found it to be easier for me this way. So just a few going around as much as you possibly can. The heaviness of the filling will pull the dough, which is kind of nice, and help you to incorporate it better. So just like that. I'm trying to think how many I did. I don't know, maybe 5 to 7. We're going to cover it, we're going to put some topping on top of it as well again, and then cover it and let it rest for another hour. We're going to leave that for the inside. So let it rest. An hour later, here we go. This is kind of what it's going to look like. So it's already getting some nice air bubbles and getting it more incorporated into the dough, our toppings, and it's starting to look good. It's already smelling like a pizza. It's so good. That's topping. Oh my gosh, it's so good. So this is my third stretch and pull or coil after it's fermenting, or resting, I guess you could say. So that's just kind of where we're at. We're going to cover it and tap it a little bit, of course, and let it rest for another hour. An hour later, this is what it looks like. Same thing. We're just going to do a few coils. Your last one, you shouldn't do too much. You shouldn't have to do too many. I think I did maybe 5 at the most because the dough is already nice and it's got air bubbles. It's already nice and ready to go. So you just don't need to do it. We're going to cover it and let it rest until it doubles in size. This was 6 hours later. This was sitting there for 6 hours. So this is what it looks like. You want your dough to flop right out of the bowl. That's how you know it's perfect. I'm dividing it in half because these are 2 loaves that I'm doing. And then we're just going to gently pull our dough. You don't want to rip it. You just want to gently pull it out like that as much as you can. And then we're going to put our topping in there. So obviously I'm using only half because the other half is going to be for the other side. And you're just going to sprinkle it in just like that. Try to get it as even as possible from edge to edge so that it's covered how it needs to be covered. but you don't have to worry about it too much because it's already in the dough. So this is like an extra little step. And then we're just gonna roll it like a burrito, or I like to say a cinnamon roll. That I have found is the best way to get those swirls and it gets in there. You don't have to worry too much about playing with this dough. It just like that. You just kind of roll it, tuck it under, and then you're just going to put it in your banneton. I do not flour my banneton. I don't flour my dough anymore. I take my bannetons and I line it with my tea towel and just plop it in there just like that without any flour or anything like that. We're just going to cover it. If you have any kind of little, pulls or whatever, just make sure you pull it and cover it. You don't want to have any holes. That's what I'm trying to say. Any holes. And just like that, I'm going to cover it and let it rest on my counter an hour before I put it in the refrigerator overnight. So the next morning, we're pulling it out. Looks beautiful. And we're just going to pop it on some parchment paper. And then I'm going to put some rice flour on top of that and just do my normal little score that I always do. You can do whatever your little heart desires. I don't think it matters. What I do to think has really helped is if I do the main score, like the ear score part, down the middle instead of on the side. It just makes it easier for it bakes. It just makes it better. So try it, but I think it's best. And there it is. See, I like it in the middle like that because you have all that pizza topping coming out and you see it and it's phenomenal. We're going to let it rest for an hour before we cut into it. That's the hardest part. Oh my gosh, I want to cut it. Well, look at all that goodness. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you try making your own pizza bread. It is so good. It is definitely worth the try. But look at all those air bubbles and all those beautiful pizza toppings. It's phenomenal. It's really good. It's great toasted. It's great with even avocado toast. Or my family normally just eats it by itself, especially when it's fresh and warm out of the oven. So there you go. I hope you enjoy. Have a blessed day.